everyone. This is Karen.
Welcome back, everybody. I am Shane.
Today we're looking at part 2 of The Beeper, a page out of the history books. And the vocabulary words are height.
Height.
The author was at the height of her success in the early 2000s.
Communicate.
Communicate.
Kate likes to communicate with her friends by sending them postcards.
Oh, that's sweet. Network.
Network.
The network is down, which is why you can't make a phone call right now.
No wonder. Citizen.
Citizen.
If you are not a citizen, then you will not be able to vote.
Instruction.
Instruction.
Rex read the instructions before he put together the shelf.
Peak.
Peak.
My electricity bill peaks during the summer when I use my air conditioner a lot. Ooh.
So we're still talking about the cool beepers that we had back in the days.
143.
What's 143 again? Do you remember?
I love you.
Aww,
so sweet.
That is so sweet.
And I 143. Wait, I 143. All of you too. Yes. Do you know why? One. There's one letter in
Yes.
I.
Love.
Love.
4 letters.
4 letters.
And
you.
3 letters.
3 letters. 1.
And that's why
4.
143 is
I love you.
So back in the day when we had the pager, instead of, we cannot write letters, we could not text. So we would use numbers and then use it as a code.
There was
right?
no internet that people used. When I was in high school, pagers were becoming very popular in the 90s.
That's right.
That's right. And yeah, there's no internet. You only could just put 143 inside a beeper, and that's how you told somebody you love them.
That's right. Or you leave your phone number or 991 for emergency.
Speaking of emergencies, now it's very good for communicating if there's an emergency because the cellular networks might be down. So in Japan, for example, they're giving them away to the citizens to use in case of an emergency.
Because the paging network is more dependable.
Yeah. So they're old-fashioned, but they're still very useful.
That's right. Okay. Yay. We're going to get our beepers back.
Let's learn more.
And enjoy.
Enjoy.
The Beeper, a page out of the history books.
The height of the pager's popularity was in the 1990s. Cell phones were a new technology and too expensive for most people. Pagers, on the other hand, were cheap and reliable, and codes allowed for creative ways to communicate. You may know what 911 meant, but did you know that 143 stands for I love you in America?
Today's lesson is The Beeper, a page out of the history books. Part 2. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff.
And I'm Mike. We're learning about the beeper, this seemingly ancient technology that people no longer use, but we're going to learn today how it's making a comeback. Back in the old days, it was first used for emergency workers to be in contact 24 hours a day. In the 1960s, commercial sales were allowed, so anyone could buy a beeper. And really in the 80s and 90s, it was kind of a thing business people might have, or eventually moms or even teenagers, so that their friends could send them a simple message, let them know that they want to talk. You'd have to find a phone and call back. And of course, once the cell phone came along, beepers seemed to be not very useful.
Yeah, now you can call someone's phone directly, contact them at any moment, wherever they happen to be. Anyways, more on the pager. The height of the pager's popularity was in the 1990s, okay? In the 1990s, apparently, everyone had a pager. Pagers were super popular. Now, before we move on, let's talk about the word height. It's a noun. When you talk about the height of something, you talk about the point at which this thing was at its most popular. Yeah, the height of something is the highest point of something or the top of something. So, pagers, they steadily became more and more popular from the 70s into the 80s, and then they reached their peak popularity in the 90s, and then everything started to fall apart. Cell phones came on the scene. Anyways, an example sentence for the word height. The author was at the height of her success in the early 2000s, and then everything fell apart for her. She became less popular than before. She became the beeper of the early 2000s.
So yes, the beeper enjoyed its height of popularity in the 1990s, and then things changed. It says cell phones were a new technology and too expensive for most people. And there we could add
At the beginning.
At first, exactly. Yeah, cell phones were thousands of dollars. They weren't really useful. You had to stand outside and use them. Inside in a moving car, it was a lot harder, and really only the richest people could afford them. Pagers, on the other hand, in the 90s pagers on the other hand were cheap and reliable, and codes allowed for creative ways to communicate in the same way that people might use simple letters or emojis to communicate today. The pager users eventually invented sort of their own pager language, so it wasn't just about giving a person your phone number. You could give them a simple message. You could communicate with them through these simple messages. To communicate, this verb is basically just to exchange information, messages. You can talk to someone. You can call them on the phone. You can wave and do signals and things with your hands. You can write them letters. These are all different ways to communicate, to pass information from one person to another. For example, Kate likes to communicate with her friends by sending them postcards.
Anyways, back in the day though, not everyone had smartphones or cell phones. They were still super expensive, so people made do with pagers and codes that they could send over their pagers, or they could send to a pager over the airwaves. Now more on these codes. You may know what 911 meant, but did you know that 143 stands for I love you in America? Yeah, there's a pager code for you. 911, of course, meant emergency, and 143 meant I love you. And apparently it still stands for that in America.
Oh, okay. I guess each number represents the number of letters in each word of I love you. So there you go, 143. I wonder, would people still understand that today?
No, I didn't know this. I didn't know about this.
Yeah,
and I'm American.
People just use the heart emoji.
Yeah, it's true. All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be back soon.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。我们在第一天的课文读到，1958年呢，一般民众才被核准可以使用呼叫器。那在1964年 ，Motorola 就推出了第一台商用呼叫器。不过，呼叫器是在1990年代才达到人气的高峰，那时候台湾有好几百万个用户哦。毕竟那时候手机还算是新的科技，对大多数的人来说太贵了。而且这个呼叫器呢，它便宜又可靠，大家可以用有创意的代码来沟通交流。同学们应该知道，在美国911就相当于台湾的119是急难救助专线嘛。可是你知道他们是用143来表达我爱你吗？据说呢，这是根据 I love you 的字母数量而来的。I 一个字母。Love 有4个字母 ，You 有3个字母，所以他就用143来表达 I love you。不过我觉得我们的比较有趣，像520有谐音是我爱你啊，530我想你啊，1314一生一世等等的。好，那这边用2个单字 height。它表示高峰或是顶点或是高度。当我们说 the height of something， 就表示什么什么的最高峰。Jeff 老师刚刚用到一个片语动词叫 fall apart， 他说达到高峰之后就垮了。fall apart 就表示分崩、瓦解或者是失败。好，下一个单字 communicate。是当动词表示沟通交流。那我们现在传讯息常常会用表情符号来沟通。刚刚 Mike 老师说的 emoji， 它是来自日文 ，emoji 叫做绘文字，也就是我们说的表情符号。接回课文中。
The beeper, a page out of the history books.
Of course, pagers became old-fashioned once the cost of cell phones went down. Still, they live on today as they are considered more dependable. During disasters, cellular networks can get overwhelmed with people trying to call their loved ones. This is not a problem with paging networks. Besides, signals from a pager aren't blocked by buildings like cellular signals are. Therefore, many local governments in Japan are handing out pagers to citizens to make sure that they receive instructions in case of an emergency.
Okay, before the break, we talked about how pagers reached their peak in the 1990s because pagers were cheap and cell phones were still really expensive. Well, of course, pagers, they became old-fashioned once the cost of cell phones went down. Yes, once cell phones became affordable, people thought, why am I carrying around this beeper? People can call me directly and tell me what they want to say directly, immediately. I don't need to decipher a code and then go find a landline. None of that was necessary anymore.
That's right. So you might think pagers have gone the way of the horse and buggy or the VCR video machine or something like that. Something you might see in a museum, but people don't use these days. But that seems to be not the case. It says still, pagers, still they live on today as they are considered more dependable. They're very dependable. They're very reliable. Your cell phone might not work if it runs out of power, if you're inside, or if everyone's using the cell phone network at a certain time, like on New Year's Eve or after an emergency, whereas pagers will always work, rain or shine, no matter what. During disasters, it says cellular networks can get overwhelmed with people trying to call their loved ones. If you've ever tried to call someone after a big earthquake hits, you might notice that it's hard to get through for the first 10, 20 minutes, maybe an hour. That's because these cellular networks that carry cell phone signals, they get overwhelmed. There's too much stuff going on, too many people using it, and it kind of shuts down.
Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the word network right now. It's a noun, okay? When we're talking about a network, we're talking about computers or satellites or phone equipment and stuff like that that works together. These things work together, I should say, to make something work. When we're talking about a cellular network, we're talking about those towers and satellites and the phones and all those things that work together that make that network work so that you can send a text message on your cell phone or so that you can call someone on your cell phone. That's how a cellular network works. That's what it is. For example, the network is down, which is why you can't make a phone call right now.
There you go. So cellular networks can get overwhelmed, can get too much information that basically chokes off all of the signals from going through. But as we read on, it says this is not a problem with paging networks. Besides, it says signals from a pager aren't blocked by buildings like cellular signals are. So you can call from a basement, you can call from inside a big office building or whatever, and you won't have to go, oh wait, hang on, I only got one bar, I need more bars. It'll always work.
Always
so
works.
We're kind of back to where we started. Emergency situations.
There you go. Therefore, many local governments in Japan apparently are handing out pagers to citizens to make sure that they receive instructions in case of an emergency. Now, in this sentence, we've got two vocabulary words to talk about. The first of these is the noun citizen.
Yes, Jeff, and I don't know, but if I were a citizen of Japan, I would worry about Godzilla. A giant dinosaur that can eat Tokyo? I would
From
want
the movies?
movies.
Yeah, that's a movie.
thought
That was not documentary
I thought that was
footage.
Discovery Channel.
No, that was a movie.
Anyways, if you are a citizen of Japan, that means you are a legal resident or a member of a country. You probably have a passport, you might live in the country, you might be able to vote in the elections and things like that. It's a little different from being a resident. You can live in a country but have a passport from a second or different country. But generally, citizens might have been born there, they're legal residents, they have legal rights and responsibilities, and probably a passport or an ID card that shows that they are from that country. For example, if you are not a citizen, then you will not be able to vote. Yeah, that's my case, my situation here in Taiwan.
Okay, we also have the noun instruction to talk about. Okay, here we're talking about instructions. Instructions are a set of information. It's a piece of information that tells you how to do something or what to do given some situation. So if the Japanese government is sending out instructions during disasters, they're just telling Japanese citizens what to do right now to stay safe. For example, Rex read the instructions before he put together the shelf. Anyways, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
当初手机很贵，大多数的人都是用呼叫器。不过，当手机的价格下跌，呼叫器就变得过时了。毕竟你直接用手机讲电话比较快嘛，你也不需要去破解这些数字代码的意义，或者是还要特别去找电话来回拨给对方。刚刚 Jeff 老师用到两个字，一个是 affordable。affordable， 它是在 afford 负担，在后面加上 able， 用来表达负担得起的。好，那么另外一个是 decipher 这个动词呢是用来表达破解密码那个破解的动作，它是拼作 decipher decipher。好，虽然呼叫器不流行了，可是它们现在还存在着诶，而且是被认为它是比较可靠的装置。毕竟灾难发生的时候，手机这一种蜂巢式无线电话网络系统呢，可能会因为很多人同时都在打电话，想要打电话给家人、朋友、爱人啊，结果就流量超载。像在跨年的时候，你想要打电话给朋友，同样都会打不通诶。不过这对呼叫器的网络来说，并不是个问题。呼叫器的讯号不会像手机讯号一样被建筑物挡住，所以呢，日本很多市政府都有发呼叫器给市民，确保他们在紧急事件的时候都可以收到指示。那文中有一个形容词叫 dependable。dependable 它是形容可靠的、可信赖的，意思就跟 reliable 差不多。reliable 它是拼作 reliable。reliable， 它也是指可靠的、可信赖的。好，那这边还有三个单字 network 它表示网络系统。Jeff 老师说的 satellite 它是指卫星啊，人造卫星。那这个字它是拼作 satellite。好，下一个单字 citizen 表示公民、市民。那我们顺便学一个字叫 resident， 它是拼作 resident， 这个字可以用来表达居民或者是定居者。好，下一个单字 instruction， 它表示指示、命令，或是用来指说明书啊、操作指南。那当这意思来解释的时候，通常是用复数型。简化课文中
The beeper, a page out of the history books.
Sales of the pager may have peaked long ago, yet it's in no danger of disappearing. It can be relied on to send a message when a cell phone can't, which has allowed it to keep on beeping in the modern age.
All right, everyone, let's go ahead and wrap up our lesson on the pager. Sales of the pager may have peaked long ago, it's true, yet it's in no danger of disappearing.
There you go. So maybe unlike the horse and buggy or the video player, the pager is actually kind of like the record player, something that people said, oh, that's ancient history, but 20, 30 years later, it's back and it's just, well, maybe not just as popular as before, but it's still a useful piece of equipment. But I think you could say that, yes, the pager, along with the record player and a few of these older technologies, they did peak long ago, even though they're still being used today. To peak, when we talk about it as a verb, we're basically saying reaching a high point or reaching the highest point. We often use this in this sort of situation to talk about the popularity of something. A peak is the top point, like the peak of the mountain is the highest point. So to peak is to reach that highest point, with the idea being that things kind of went down afterwards. For example, my electricity bill peaks during the summer when I use my air conditioner a lot. I'm always using power, but if you looked at it on a chart in those hottest months of August, that's when it's highest, and then it starts to go down. All right, so back to the article. It says the pager, it can be relied on to send a message when a cell phone can't, which has allowed it to keep on beeping in the modern age.
There you go. It's not going anywhere soon. It will never disappear. The pager is awesome. All right, folks, that's it for our article on the beeper. But Mike and I aren't through. We still have to ask and answer the what do you think question. Mike, what other older devices are still popular today? And why?
I'm not sure about the why, but it's funny we talked about the Japanese and how they're using beepers or pagers. I'd say the fax machine is an older device that people still use today, especially in Japan, I think because they like to have things on paper. But it's true, I think most offices around the world, it would be tough to find a fax machine. People use email. But I read somewhere that in Japan, it's still standard equipment in many office buildings.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to end our lesson and say bye-bye.
Take care.
好，即使呼叫器的销量在很久以前就达到高峰，后来又退流行。不过现在呢，当手机没办法依赖的时候，人们还是可以利用呼叫器来传讯息，你就不用担心收讯不良、没有讯号这件事了。那我们最后来看单字 peak。peak 可以当名词或当动词，当名词就表示高峰、最高点，那么当动词就表示达到高峰。那它也有稍微暗示说之后会渐渐衰退的意思。好啦，那么以上是这些讲解，同学们别走开，马上回来哦。大家好，我是 Hanny。在今天的课程中，我们要介绍4个文法重点。第一个是 with 加受词加受词补语的用法，第二个是 in case of， 第三个是 rely on somebody or something， 第四个是 keep on 加上动词 ing。 首先，我们来学习 with 加受词加受词补语的用法。句型 with 加受词加受词补语是用来表示附带状况或是原因。那受词补语可以用介系词片语、形容词、现在分词或是过去分词。如果是以分词做受词补语，当受词跟受词补语的关系是主动时，就用现在分词；被动时就用过去分词。来看2个例句 ：With the wedding day approaching, she became more and more nervous. 随着婚礼慢慢靠近，她变得越来越紧张了。I always sleep with my bedroom door closed. 我睡觉的时候，房门总是会关着。接着，我们来学习 in case of。片语 in case of 表示万一怎么样的话，要是怎么样怎么样，那么后面是接名词或动名词。例如 In case of fire, do not use the elevator. 万一有火灾的时候，请勿使用电梯。接着，我们来学习 rely on somebody or something。Rely on 后面加人或事物，就表示依靠或是依赖某人或某事物。例如 Kate relies on the MRT to get to work every day. Kate 每天靠捷运上班。最后，我们来学习 keep on 加上动词 ing。动词 keep 有持续、继续不断的意思。keep on 加动词 ing 就表示持续做某事。例如 No matter what challenges you encounter, you have to keep on going. 无论你遇到什么困难挑战，你都要继续坚持下去，再接再厉。以上是今天重点整理，我们下次见喽 ！See you next time, bye.
能引起注意的自我介绍实用句。
欢迎收看就爱讲英文
我是悠悠，
我是 Jerry。
自我介绍的时候可以特别一点，就让他可以记得你。
对，
个人魅力、个人形象。我们今天要告诉大家的是
5个可以引起注意的自我介绍实用句。 1. I grew up in, but I'm originally from. 2. Jay Chou is my uncle. 3. Lady Gaga is a distant relative of mine. 4. Is my old classmate. I've known since college. 5. I'm quite shy, so you can come say hi. 来，我们看到第一个哦。怎么了？
我就是啊，
你就是。
我在台湾长大，但我原本来自 America，
对，美国人的，所以你可以说 I grew up in Taiwan, but I'm originally from the States.
I grew up in Taiwan, but I'm originally from
The States. From the United States. OK，
对
好，所以像我也可以讲，
对，
乱讲了。I grew up in Taiwan，我台湾长大的，but I'm originally from Singapore. 新加坡来的这样。
你不是说你那个黑的时候，我以为你从菲律宾来的嘞。
Originally 就是原本的意思。
是 originally
I'm originally from 哪里？在岛内也可以这样用啊，就是说 I grew up in Taipei， but I'm originally from 嘉义。
对，嘉义真的。然后你也可以说哪个名人是你的亲戚，然后就
对你这一句话一讲出来，人家就真的假的？
你变成马上。
比如说。Jolene is my sister. 对 ，Jay Chou is my uncle. OK， 这样大家就会想要跟你攀谈了。
真的。
或者是呢，你再扯一个叫什么远房亲戚？
是
distant relative of mine.
Distant relative of mine.
就是我的远房亲戚。那在看谁哦？比如说，Lady Gaga is a distant relative of mine.
一知道就是骗人的。
你还可以讲
谁是你的同学？
对，或者是你们我很熟啊，有些人都很喜欢这样啊，那个谁我很熟，其实一点都不熟这样啊。比如说林依晨是我的同学，我大学就认识他了。
真假
？OK，Ariel Lin is my old classmate。
人家有没有想要认你
？I've known her since college。对，我大学就认识她 ，I've known her since college。
现在一个新起之秀的主持人，
对，谁啊？
刘杰忠。
对啊，对，这个那个
哇，超级大帅哥是他的同学哦，
大帅哥，
真的。
Is an old classmate of mine. I've known him since college.
这个我可以作证。
对，
这招真的很猛。
那我们还可以讲，
我接你只是因为想要认识杰忠。最后你还可以说什么
？I'm quite shy, so you can come say hi. 这句话有押韵的。I'm quite shy， 我有一点点害羞内向，但是你可以来找我聊天这样。
这一句好用。
I'm quite shy, but you can come say hi.
I'm quite shy, and you can come say hi.
对，我很害羞，但是我很帅，所以你想要认识我就自己来找我。
你刚刚前面那个什么？你什么？你很什么
？I'm quite shy, so you can come say hi.
你刚说你自己很什么？
我很 shy 。我很 shy。
不是你很帅吗？
不是我很帅，
我来看今天的
live action.
Hi,
my name is Jay. You know, like the pop singer in Taiwan.
Oh yeah, I know Jay Chou.
Jay.
Yeah.
I grew up in Chiayi. Grew up in Chiayi, but I'm originally from India. I'm originally from India.
Wow, okay.
India.
India, yes. Yep. And no wonder you have this accent.
And you know, Jay Chou is my uncle.
Really?
My uncle, yes. And Lady Gaga is a distant relative of mine.
Really?
Yes, really. And Jeremy Lin, that basketball player, is my old classmate. I've known him since college. We took a lot of classes together. And my favorite author is J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, Harry Potter.
Rowling, Harry Potter. But I hate Harry Potter. And I'm actually quite shy. So you can come say hi.